Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chair.
Tracy Martin.
Mr. Chair. Can I just pick up around the problem I had when I last spoke, which was around in Part 1, but it's the Clause 38 and the Minister's amendment, supplementary order paper, that wants to remove delete new section 353 bar 2 from Part 1. And it's around the removal of natural justice, and it's around the removal of natural justice with regard to the registration of teachers. Now, I believe that, and the Minister might like to confirm this, the Minister and the Chair might like to confirm this, that the answer that possibly the Minister might give me is the fact that this is a duplication of the natural justice and other parts of the bill. However, and so if I could just speak to that, there is the process of natural justice is mentioned in 176D on page 16 of the bill, which has to do with the governance of tertiary institutions, so nothing to do with the registration of teachers. It's also mentioned again in 398/7 on page 63 of the bill, which is around disciplinary functions. However, what we're talking about is the removal of clause 353/2 on page 35 of the bill, directly around teacher registration. Now, why this is important that it be repeated in this area around teacher registration is that there are two parts particularly that the Education Council must satisfy themselves of with regard to the registration of any applicant, and they are very subjective. A is that they be of good character, and B, that they are fit to teach. They are very subjective. They are not based on qualifications. They are not based on any other measure but a subjective measure. And therefore, it is important in our view that natural justice applies and can be seen to apply when those subjective conversations are taking place. We again request for either the Minister to outline clearly why she feels the need to remove natural justice from this particular section of the bill, or to remove it from her SOP. Remove it from her SOP. It is necessary in our view when it comes to the registration of teachers and the subjective nature of the Teachers' Council when they decide whether to allow a person after their after education and so on to be registered. So that's the first thing that I hope that the Minister will address. I want to address another part of the bill, and it is around, there's two other things I need to address while I have the opportunity. And so the first one is the Minister has actually spoken in the House before and talked about, she hasn't really spoken, she's kind of shouted across the House really. When we the opposition have raised the difficulty we have with the changes to the education, hey, we all shout from time to time, Mr. Foster-Bell, mind you, not often. When we have raised concerns about the changes to the Teachers' Council so that it is down to only 9 members from 11 members, and the removal of democracy from teachers where they can elect their own members of this council, the Minister has shouted across the House, like I do now, like I do now. And I'm not sure whether the Minister actually understands that right now there are 11 people who are elected or appointed on the Teachers' Council. One is nominated from each of the following, the NZEI, the PPTA and the NZSTA. The Minister appoints 4, and then registered teachers elect the other 4 members. So not only is there now a minimising of the council, there seems to be a thing of shrinkage over on the government benches. They seem to enjoy shrinkage. So not only is there a shrinkage of the number of members here, but there is definitely a removal of democracy. So it is not as it is now. This is definitely a concern that should be addressed. It's no different than Mr. Finlayson deciding that strategic planning is not necessary because that requires some sort of form of democracy, etc., when he's talking about the arts and culture portfolio that he used to have. Lastly, we come back down to the change of the name for the new professional body. And if we go to the we go to the departmental report, the revised departmental report, The reason that they have given for the change of name is, and I quote, "The name of the new professional body differentiates from the current NZTC. It reflects the need for a shared emphasis on teaching and leadership across the entire system from ECE through secondary tertiary transition." Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair,
Megan Wood.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm pleased to make another call on this Education Amendment Act number 2, and in particular I want to concentrate